This is where we hold them. This is where we fight.
You are now listening to Sweep the Rack podcast featuring Brooklyn Rob and Big Mike.
Rob, what's good, homie?
First off, I'd like to say it is a very, very special honor for me to have you co-host this show as a published bowling writer who is now writing bowling articles on famous
Bowling news websites.
Bowling news websites. And obviously, we'll get into the article you wrote on Jeff Riggle's 11frame.com blog. But look, shouts to Mike. If you didn't read the article, it was an amazing article. You spent a lot of time. You put a lot of thought into it. You definitely, you aired out your grievances on an article, and you've been talking about the last 3 to 4 weeks. But I feel like you were able to articulate yourself very, very well in your article. So shouts to Big Mike. I feel like if we lived close together, we'd go out, have a beer, celebrate your first published article. You did do a very good article on the PBA league that we put out a while back. So I feel like you have a future in the bowling writer world, Mike. Now, do you need to start your own blog? If you had more time, I bet you would. But, look, shouts to you, Mike. Great article. If you haven't had a chance to read it, go read it. We'll talk a little bit about more the article in depth in a little bit.
If we went out for a celebratory beer, it would have been our second celebratory beer of the week, because we probably would have went out for a celebratory beer on Sunday or Monday as well. Shouts to my guy over here. I'm clapping if you can't hear me, if you're just listening to this audio. The dude is making runs. He's crushing them in qualifying. He's match play, we'll hear about what went wrong, but nonetheless. John Stevenson in the chat. I took the words right out of my mouth. Rob got game. But listen, I've said before on the podcast that Rob's got game. I think anybody who knows the pure shads in general know that, they have game. Like, these guys can bowl. So it wasn't like super surprising for me to see you bowl well, but you were amongst some stiff competition there, in the guys that made the cut.
Yeah. So a little bit remember what last week that I was talking about how I was throwing the ball terrible and I wasn't bullshitting. Okay. And what I did is I knew I had to bowl the regional last weekend. Friday night, I went to B3 Performance, right? And I literally took video of myself bowling for a good 45 minutes. I took the video. I was showing it to people. I was showing it to my Calderon, Brandy Calderon. I was sending it to my brothers. I was sending it to Bill O'Neill. I was sending the videos. Like, what do I need to do to fix? Because my swing and timing were completely off. So I was about to start packing up my stuff. I had 5 minutes left in the practice. It's an hour practice. I decided I was going to try something really exaggerated on my push away to try to fix it. I videoed it. All of a sudden, I took the video back and I looked at it and I went, holy crap, my fucking swing is fixed. I'm like, unbelievable. I really exaggerated something and fixed my swing. And then I threw it again. I looked at the video. I threw it again. I looked at the video. I said, my swing looks so much better on video. So what did I do when I woke up that morning, for qualifying, that afternoon? I focused on two things. I focused on doing what I was doing with my swing, and just staying balanced, really, like two basic functions of your bowling game. And it didn't help. It helped. I had an amazing reaction, obviously. So just a little bit of backstory on qualifying. Like, I've really fixed my swing 5 minutes before, like, and decided I was just going to commit to it. And all of a sudden, my hand was in the right place. My balance was good. And a little bit of backstory, but my qualifying, I mean, I qualified 4th out of like 90. Mike, I opened 3 times in a 10 frame in 8 games. And those are all missed spares. Mike, you ready for this, Mike? You're gonna love this. 3 stone 10s on more than 6, like in 7 in a rows, and I missed all 3 10 pins in a 10 frame. Could you imagine how crazy that is? Like, and there's a reason why I missed all those 10 pins. When I fixed my swing, my alignment of where my shooting my 10 pins was completely wrong, completely off, because all of a sudden my swing now is doing something different than I'm used to, and my eyes and where I stand is completely like different. Anyway, long story short, I was able to like fix the 10 pin problem, right? Now I wish I would have done that days ago, but let's talk about match play, right? I've qualified like 5th or 6th going into the top 8. That was my goal, was to make the top 8 to make match play. Killer field, right? The lanes got so dry in the front, like the heads, that there was no, like, you had to be left. Like, there was no doubt you had to be left. There was, and I'm going to be honest, just for me bowling on it, there was no chance a single right-hander that didn't loft it a lot with their one arm, like me. I don't loft it. I don't know how to loft it. I probably could if I want to. Not my A game. Was going to win that tournament. It was either going to be a lefty, which Buttriff was the only lefty in the field, and Duster, who was a two-hander. Two-handed bowling, and look, I am not against two-handed bowling. I love two-handed bowling. I think it's great for the sport. I think it's the future of the sport. Two-handed bowling has a huge advantage when you have to get left of 30 or 25-30, because of the fact where it's easier for a two-handed style to loft it over the heads. Because, Mike, I mean, it's basic physics, right? If you were to throw a ball up in the air, it's probably easier to throw it up with 2 hands compared to 1 hand, right? So if I'm lofting the heads, it's probably a lot easier for a two-hander to do it. The thing is when the two-hander lofts it over the heads, they're still able to get the ball right and still able to get the ball to get back on the back ends when the back ends are super tight, right? That's why you see a lot of two-handers when the shot gets really far left, they're able to, I mean, it's an advantage, right? And that's exactly what happened on this pattern. The lane surface is super beat up. You really needed to get left. You really needed to loft it over the heads. You really needed to have enough hand to get the ball back if you missed right, because if you missed right, the ball was gone right. I missed the head pin a bunch of times, right, because I missed right. They got really dry, but you couldn't miss right. It was crazy. But Buttriff was able to, do his thing using resin, which was, cool to see, standing on 20, just throwing it at 10 and just averaging 230 like it was nothing. So, yeah, I mean, my experience is physically 20 games in 2 days and an hour bowling Friday night was a huge toll on me. I'm not used to that many games. I was completely had no reaction and I just bowl bad. I mean, look, there's no excuses. I wish I could have made a run in the step ladder, but that was really what happened to me.
What we really want to know is, did you have to wear the same name shirt 2 days in a row?
I did. I had a late Saturday. I had a Saturday night laundry at 9:00 at night when I got home. I literally threw my pants. I threw my shirt. I hated my shirt. I couldn't tuck it in. It was big. It was uncomfortable. I was sweaty. It was gross. The shirt's terrible. I need a new shirt. I don't plan on bowling PBA tournaments a lot. So for me, it's almost like a waste of money to get a shirt with my name on the back of it, honestly. But I might have to just get a new one and put it in my closet.
Nico throwing shade, asking you, now that you got a check, can you afford a name shirt? Are you Nico? He ain't paying for a name shirt. He doesn't even pay for his balls or nothing. I mean, he's paying for a shirt? He ain't paying for
Don't worry. I don't need a name shirt, okay? Because I don't plan on bowling probably another PBA tournament until maybe next year when it comes back into like the area, honestly.
So you know, I mean, you talked about the two-handers and the left had a good look. Like, that's you bowling one weekend in that environment. Imagine how some guys out on tour must feel, you know?
I completely understand. I mean, we knew that you know, there was definitely an issue with some of the one-handed bowlers out there, right? I need to say it again. I am not against two-handed bowling, right? If you can't beat them, join them, right? You know, if it's such an advantage, then, you know, what, maybe I should learn how to bowl two-handed. Mike, I'm 41 years old, bro.
That would make for good content.
It would be. That. I'm not about to change styles, right? I've been bowling like this since I was 3 years old. Actually, I did start as a two-handed when I was 3. I've been bowling one-handed since I was like 6. It's too late in the game for me to try to switch two-handed and be competitive at a high level. I'd have to relearn my whole body would have to relearn how to throw a bowling ball. I'm too old to be doing that shit. But Mike, I'm being honest. I'm being transparent. It is an advantage to be two-handed when the fronts of the lane are hooking as much as they do and the back ends are super, super tight. And I feel like that's a lot of majority of the PBA patterns are like that. At least what I bowled on Shark at 48 feet was 100% like that. And Eddie Van Deniker, who was bowling, who finished 3rd, he was lofting it to a certain extent and was able to, like, you know, bowl pretty good to get to the step ladder. But for him to be able to beat a Buttriff or beat a Duster was going to be a really uphill climb for him, in my opinion.
Okay, well, good bowling again. Nice run. You know, you definitely got some back from your previous weekend of bowling where things didn't really go as planned. So always good to get out there and you know, perform better after you had a little bit of a letdown. But great bowling, man. You know, nice run. Like, I was all over it on. I mean, Saturday and Sunday, I was all over it. Like, I was already checking the regional standings because Bill was bowling, right? Yeah. So then I just kept going back to the page once I knew, you know, it was later in the afternoon here, but once I knew that you were already bowling, I was just checking both. And then saw that you were bowling really well, so I was like, oh man, I'm gonna stay up a little bit later than planned and, you know, see how he finishes out this qualifying round. So yeah, bowled really well, man. Obviously, like we said, didn't go the way that you wanted on Sunday, but it's still a hell of a performance. It's still a great weekend of bowling. You got to get out there and bowl a lot against obviously some of the best competition available. Was there any urethane going down the lane or no?
I didn't see a lot. There was people trying to throw it. You could have thrown it. I drilled a new urethane last week. I could have thrown it if I wanted to. I don't think you would be able to compete in general. I was using a really big asymmetrical ball. Was able to like smooth it out for me a little bit. But you could use urethane. Okay. I feel like you could probably use urethane these days. Funny thing about Bill O'Neill, though, in the regional, he did finish 3rd. I did talk to him, and I got a little funny tidbit about Bill bowling his regional. Bill bowled a regional for the first time. He used 14-pound equipment. He finished 3rd. He lost to the Pineapple Express. What's his face? Nair. And I believe Nair needed a strike to beat him and went dead through the face to beat him in the step ladder. And I think he might have like crossed over or went through the nose like 3 or 4 times during that match. I'm not sure if anybody was able to watch that match in the chat or anybody knows about it, but I talked to Bill about it, and you know, he used 14 pounds, and I'm like, how did it feel? Like, what happened? He's just like, dude, the 14-pound balls hook so much more than the 15-pound balls. I'm just like, wow, that's probably good for you, right? He's like, yeah, and that's really good. I'm like, well, maybe you should go to 13. I was like, how much do they hook at 13 pounds? So, I mean, anybody who doesn't know this in the chat or anybody's listening to the show, the 14, 15, and 16-pound balls are all made differently when it comes to their differential and their RG numbers for those bowling balls. So usually when you have, the lighter the weight, the more, differential usually is in a lot of these bowling balls, a lot of, different numbers. So, when you go down and weight your equipment, your balls actually hook more. So, that's an interesting tidbit, and I knew that, but I was talking to Bill about it. He's like, yeah, my stuff hooks a lot now, than the 15s. I'm like, oh, that's cool. And he said that he left a ton of 9 pins. He said a ton of 9 pins, and he, didn't leave a lot of 210s or 2 810s. He said, and he's not really sure why, but he says that whenever he went light, he would just leave a 2-pin. And I'm like, well, maybe your ball was deflecting into the 10-pin. I was laughing. We were laughing, but so I don't know. Funny tidbit of talking to him, on the phone about his regional performance on this past weekend.
It's wild. It's wild for another undiscovered concept in bowling that people that might change perhaps what a majority of competitive bowlers do. Somebody in the chat, Terry Runyon, just mentioned that a lot of people are watching how it goes for Bill. If it goes really well, I could see a lot of people saying, "Oh, you know what? I'm going to drop down to 14 and see how that goes for me," or drop down a pound in weight, from 16 to 15. So, interesting concept anyway. All right, Rob, what do you want to talk about next? Do you want to get into my article?
Yeah, I mean, since now you're a big published writer, and you have you're starting to build your own resume and credentials in the sport of bowling.
I think they call it a portfolio. Building a writing portfolio.
Yeah. So a few interesting points from your article that I want to talk about. And I think one of the points, and I texted you after I read the article and said, great article, loved it. I wish you would have talked more about the fact where if you get into, if you want to change over from a lot of the house bowling shots and, as you call it, the fraudulent side of the game, and you want to transition more to the sport side of it and the harder, challenging side of it, where that it brings more money into the bowling centers as a business, as people would transition over from a house shot to a sports shot. Essentially,
don't tell social media that.
No.
It seems like a lot of the people that disagree with me. First of all, it seems like some people that disagree with me didn't read the article. They're acting as if I said we need to eliminate house bowling, and you're a dope if that's what you got out of the article, because I didn't say that at all. I said people have house bowling that want to have house bowling, but we need to stop. Number one, stop legitimizing it, and number two, we need to, as a community, try and give motivation to some of the more accomplished house bowlers to make bowling on the tougher conditions and the more real side of the game more of a priority, so that we can build that up. But no, I hear you though. I only have, it was already long enough. I didn't feel like I could fit much more in there, but I definitely feel you.
Yeah, and I'll post the link in the chat if you wanted to read the article, which is free. It's on jeffriggles11frame.com. So you would just go 11th frame.com. Just click on the link at the top right. It'll take you to the article. It's a free read, and you guys should consider buying Wriggles blog if you love, reading about bowling and reading about a lot of the issues and serious topics that Jeff, writes about. But the one thing, like what I was originally talking about is like bringing money into the bowling center. I feel like people would, obviously practice more. They would buy more bowling balls from the pro shops. They would want to learn the game. And I know, that's just in general. Like if you go to a golf course, I think people who are trying to learn, they'll spend money in lessons. They'll spend money in, new equipment, and they get hooked on the challenge of it being a challenge, right? And I feel like that's where the sport needs to be. But the other point I wanted to make of your article, and I want to talk more about this, is how to solve this problem, right? And you talked about an interesting topic. We talked about this months ago. I don't think we brought it up lately in this, 3 to 4 week. I should call it salty, the salty 4 months
salty
of yours.
The salty period.
Yeah, the Big Mike parent, what is that? The Big Mike teacher board saltiness. But actually, like making the oil green, and labeling it easy, right? Or maybe having it on the computer screens and having it maybe even on the what is that? The consoles, right? Where it's just as easy, right?
Yeah.
I want to talk to you more about that, and I want to ask you, like, what do you think that would do in hypothetically, if that happened? Do you think people would be discouraged that like they're averaging 230, but it's on easy and it'll be like written easy everywhere? Like it's almost like taking a shot at their ego. Is that what you're kind of trying to do with that kind of solution?
Well, yeah. I mean, if you want to look at it that way, I'm okay with it. I do think that in some ways we need to quell the egos of the people that are, building resumes strictly on the fraudulent stuff. But I'll say this: it would educate. That's the first thing it would do. It would educate, because you would have a clear demarcation where bowlers who are totally unaware of it, right? They would then say, "Oh, well, why is this easy and that hard? What's the difference?" Oh, well, there's different oil patterns on the lane that determine how hard and easy it is. Oh, so you mean that when you bowl a 300 on this, it's not as hard as bowling a 300 on that? Yes, exactly. Oh, well, I mean, we don't even have that in our game in a lot of instances. I talked to a guy today who read my article and gave me a call, and he was telling me a story about how he was bowling the league last week, and a guy from our folded sport league had the front 11, and somebody came down and said, "Oh, so-and-so's got the front 11." And he thought to himself, like, who gives a shit? Like, we're bowling on this stuff where having the front 11 doesn't really mean much at all. 2 other people are going to have the front 11 this game. 3 people are going to have it next game. So, like, that's part of my point is, we gotta encourage those types of people to come over to the other side. But in terms of solutions, though, and what you were asking me, what would happen, right? Or what's the point of that? Really, to me, the point of it is to create the motivation for somebody to want to come up. Like you get to a certain level on the easy level, okay, and now you want to come up to the intermediate or the hard level. And there can even be, I mean, I didn't want to take up a ton of room in the article going super deep into these ideas, but you could have different levels too. It just doesn't have to be easy and hard. There could be all kinds of stuff in between, So, yeah, but I'm okay with attacking the ego, Rob. You're not?
No, I mean, I knew when the article got published and got posted that you were going to get a lot of pushback from people. Obviously, people who have the egos, or they are bowling on the house and they're averaging whatever, and they're bowling with Mamma Mia and all the buttons you pressed. You look like you can't have a strong opinion about something and not get pushback on the internet.
Oh, that's cool. Listen,
that's what it is.
Pushback, that's fine. But what I'm saying is, at least understand my point. I'm not saying take house bowling away. It's not going away. It has a place in our game. I feel that way too. I admit that. Like, should we be having brand new bowlers or recreational bowlers who come out once a week for beers, bowling on sports stuff? No, not at all. But we are kidding ourselves if we believe that a lot of the people that are also showing up to those recreational leagues are all approaching it that same way, because a lot of them aren't. And those are the people that I think we need to try and move over to the other side. But it is what it is. I mean, Rickles said these comments. We got some good comments. Rickles said in the intro to it that he thinks it's too far gone. Yeah. I forgot to bring that up because I thought that was an interesting point, right? Because it's a valid point. It is a valid point. It is a valid point. He might be right. He might be right. I don't know. But does that mean we shouldn't try and make an effort? Like, I don't know. Like, what does that mean? We should just let it go? We should just let it take its course? Like, I don't know. I don't believe that. I don't feel that way.
It would be so hard to push these guys who are, big egos, averaging 230, 235 to go back to a sport shot. I think the future of the sport is in the youth bowling. I've said it numerous times. Terry Runyon lost to Mamma Mia last night. Tough break on that. Tough break with the brackets.
What was she getting? 146 pins a game against you?
Bowled 180, 320. But I feel like the youth, at least, the youth bowling does have, almost like what you would call a wake-up call, even though you're against in a lot of ways of what junior gold and how it runs, not against the tournament, but how it runs. I know that you're a big proponent of against junior gold and how they let everybody in. But I do feel like junior gold being there and showing these young youth kids that there is a whole nother side of the game, because, they are just as much as, having these big egos and averaging, 220 on the house shots in their youth leagues and then going to junior gold and averaging 160. But I feel like if that happens at a younger age, and I feel like the popularity of junior gold is getting better. So what does that tell you? I think kids are a lot more resilient and are a lot more easier to change their, to be humbled.
More open to the challenge.
More open to the challenge. Right.
Less programmed to expect easiness.
100%. And I remember when we were kids, I mean, I was 16, 15, you were that age, and I had a huge ego. As a 15 or 16-year-old. But I remember when we went to like these tough tournaments, I loved it. We loved it because it was different and it was challenging and the scores were low. And, if my ego, I thought I was better than anybody on any shot. It didn't matter what they put out. You know what I mean? So I feel like that junior gold at least does that to a certain extent.
But more like I agree with you on what you just said. But over the years, a greater gap has developed between the two sides. Like in the 90s when we were bowling some of our junior stuff, like were they easy? Yes, but I think there was less of a gap between the easier house conditions and something that somebody might quantify as really challenging. Now I think that gap has gotten really big. But I want to bring up this comment right here. Andrew says the golf analogy is really good, especially when comparing it from different tee distances to a hole the size of the green. And I got to say this, I'll give people some background on putting this article together. So before I did the article, Jeff Rickles, in response to some of our conversation, released an old interview that he did with Roger Dawkin, right? And this interview was like from 10 years ago, and it was after Dawkin had been replaced as the executive director of the USBC, and Jeff interviewed him. And in this interview, they talked about the development of the high scores and things of this nature. And I included the piece of the article that I'm going to reference, the piece of the interview that I'm going to reference in the article. But basically what he was saying is that, they decided that there needed to be two sides of the game, the recreational and the sport. And it was comparable to golf playing on the different sets of tees. I got to be honest with you. When I read that, because I hadn't read that interview previously before Jeff re-released it. When I read that, I thought to myself, that shows you how far we had our head up our ass, that the head person at the USBC would compare house shots to playing on tees a matter of feet further back. I mean, come on, guys. Like, that is not an accurate comparison at all. And, Andrew is saying he likes my comparison of the hole being the size of the green. And, Rob, we've talked about it on here before and joked around about it, how it might even be like a funnel that leads to the green, and then the green's the hole's the size of the green. So, we've been down that road. But I do think that that's a better comparison. And I think that Dawkins' comments about that actually show, like, how incredibly naive we were being in terms of the amount of separation between the two.
You want to know something funny though? Like, you ever go golfing, right? I've been golfing a decent amount of times, right? And I want to go through some of the comments because we got some good comments. But you you ever play golf and you play with some really bad golfers? And I'm a really bad golfer too. But you notice how all the golfers, regardless if they're good or bad, will always play from the back tees, right? I don't see any really guys who, come in golf and they think, they're okay golfers ever go and hit from the ladies' tees, right? Or go in so
when I played golf as a kid with my dad and my uncles and some of his buddies, that was like a thing that they tell you like, oh no, don't do that, like you'll get made fun of. Like no, you play from back here.
No, play from the back.
See, and that's what I'm saying. Like, why in the bowling community do we look at it like, oh no, don't say anything negative about that. That's legitimate too. No, I'm sorry. No, it's not.
Right.
And that was like one of my major points.
But that's the difference. It's like the house shot is not comparable to like hitting from the ladies' tees, because if it was, nobody would want to bowl on the house shot. But nobody wants to hit from the ladies' tees, right? So I think that's
kind of the point of the easy on the scoreboard, the green oil, right? Like show what it is. Hey, this is their it's easy.
What call it the ladies' tees. Call it the ladies' tees. You see, nobody would want to bowl. All right, let's go through some of these comments because we got to bring up some of I feel like there's some good ones here. I want to bring up something from Phil Placco, who I know is very involved with the youth bowling. I believe he's still in Vegas. Here, all my kids in Vegas don't bowl in house patterns. Saturday morning program, all patterns are 4-1 and lower. Our nonprofit organization, Las Vegas youth bowlers are on 3-1 ratios. Spares. Phil, it's amazing. Hopefully, that's like that in a lot of the bigger metro areas around the country. Because Mike, you never know, man. 10 years, you might see the game kind of just flip over to the side that you'd like to see because of these kids growing up on the house,
No, it won't, because the way it's set up now is that you lose a lot of them because there's not the opportunity. So it's only the ones that are really good and really want to seek out the opportunities to compete, and you lose everybody else that's not at that level. And that's the way it's been for a while.
Well,
I want to share this comment. Love this idea. Oh my God. Andrew in the chat saying cosmic lights for house shot leagues. What if you did that? What if you said, okay, if it's a house shot, the music's on, the music's loud, it's party atmosphere.
Maybe have a clown, make balloons, right? Think about all the stuff you could do, right?
The TVs are all on. If you're in a Bolero center with the screens on the masking units, those are turned on. See, but this is why it's beautiful. Because if you did that, right, in a recreational environment, with all these guys call recreational league, you would have a lot of these people running up to the desk saying, "What's going on? I'm out here bowling. You can't have this on." Well, I thought it was recreational. If it's recreational and you're just here to have some beers with your friends and hang out, then go have some beer. What does it matter whether the lights are on or off? What does it matter whether the music's on or not? And Andrew, I mean, I wish I would have came up with that for the article. Jeez, I mean, that's just it's so perfect, bro.
So Lumberflexual, good to see you in the chat. By the way, I love that name. I think it's hilarious. Started bowling house league a few years ago, and literally I had never heard of sport leagues until I started listening to this podcast. Preach. That's crazy, right? Like people don't even know it's
it's not. It's not crazy. I think that he is a good representation.
I love it.
I think that he is a good representation of the average league bowler, who bowls in their house league. They don't know, they're not aware of it.
Charlie Tapp, did you see the picture of the attendance at Mark Baker's two-handed clinic? Wow. I mean, it's two-handed is the future of bowling. It is. It wouldn't surprise me to see 80% two-handed bowling.
If you ain't throwing it two-handed, what are you doing?
It's at this point. Yeah.
If you're a young bowler, seriously, and you're not throwing it two-handed, when I see you throw it, if you're not throwing it two-handed, you better throw it hella good.
Mike,
I mean, you better throw it like a combination of like Brian Hatcher as a junior and David Ozio. Okay? Like that's who you better throw it like, because
you know what's going to happen though, Mike?
You know what's
going to happen? You know what's going to end up happening, and it's going to be the best thing ever, is somewhere down the road, the minority is going to be one-handed bowling, and then something's gonna change.
It's gonna flip, right?
It's gonna flip back.
You're gonna
one-handed.
have some one-handed bowler who like suitcases it right up 10 all the time, and he's the only one playing there, and he's gonna straight dominate. And then the conversation's gonna become, no, you shouldn't be able to do this one-handed. This isn't fair. Yeah, it's a fair point. I mean, it's like
you imagine you have like a Norm Duke, right?
That's the perfect example.
In a pool of two-handers, right? And you're bowling on a pattern, or you're bowling on patterns that they're consistently putting out, where you have to be all of a sudden dead accurate. Like you can't like miss left, you can't miss right, and you really have to be Walter Ray, Norm Duke, and all of a sudden all the two-handers are going to lose their mind. Nobody's going to know what to do. Hopefully I'm alive for that.
Lumber Flexible, I got to give him the shout. He says, he's bowled the house leagues. Now he's trying to sport league. See, that's what I'm saying. We need more of that. We need people with more of an open mindset that are open to the challenge a little bit. That's all. Yeah. I'm not saying take sport bowling away or take recreational bowling away, house bowling away. Jimmy was saying in the chat earlier, Big Mike wants to take our house shots away. Rah! They took our house shots. I mean, come on, guys. Like, no, that's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying,
let me pull this up.
Two sides of the game.
Michael, appreciate you joining. New name in the chat. I want to read this comment because I have some thoughts here. Junior Gold and collegiate bowling are on sport patterns with the tournament format. Yep. Great. We love that. Once these juniors turn adult or college players graduate, will they be happy to bowl 3 games a week for a league on a house shot? Not all that participate in these events will be PBA or mega buck caliber. Now, here's my point to that. You're right. There is a lot of turnover from the college ranks to the pros. Why is that? There's one major reason why. Because there's not enough bowling. There's not enough money in the PBA for college kids to want to take a shot to try to get on the PBA tour, right? You're going to make more money working a full-time job, in an 8 to 5 or a 9 to 5 job in a company than going on the PBA tour, right?
Rob, think about the implications of that for a second, can we? Think about the implications of thousands of college bowlers who gave up the game after college due to lack of opportunities, who, if you had them in the game, how much better off would the game be in general with these, college graduate, making good money, can afford equipment, lessons, travel, etc. I mean, where would the game be if those opportunities existed? I mean, great point. Great point by the person in the chat there.
Dude, it's crazy, like, to think how many bowlers that we grew up with, and we talk about it all the time, never went pro, that could have went pro, that should have went pro, right? And the reason why is because it was just, there's not enough money. Like, in order for you to really be successful in the PBA tour, you had to have a big financial backing, or you had to be a top 10 player in the world. Dude, I don't know how these people out there now that are 30, 35th, 40th on the PBA tour, how they survive. Obviously, they probably have side businesses or main businesses, and they have ways to do it. But that's the reason why you see so many bowlers these days, or college kids, and because they don't go pro, because it's not worth it. There's no financial. If you get married and you have a family, where you're going to live off of $40,000 a year and traveling, 60 to 70% of the year to leave your, wife or your husband at home taking care of the kids. Like, dude, it's just, but you put money like golf.
Yeah. And no, but listen, and a lot of the people that don't make that level, they leave the game. They leave the game for lack of opportunities,
I talked about it, but let me make this point. I talked about this on Twitter. I said, Mike, like, in order for me to get re-engaged in the competitive side of bowling, I had to budget a practice equipment, right? Which whatever I pay for, which, we all know is a lot. But I had to budget my time on top of a full-time job. And I have a hard time doing that. Like, to budget your time and your money to bowl and compete at the high level is a second full-time job. It is. And I don't have a wife. I don't have kids. I have at least some of the time to do it. But if someone like you, who has, 2 daughters a wife. Like, how hard is it for you to, if you wanted to compete at the highest level or try to, bowl a high level tournament every weekend? Could you probably do it? I don't probably think
no
you
chance,
could.
no chance.
Right.
And then that's part of the point behind what I'm trying to say, because if you don't provide more regular league type opportunities for those types of bowlers to compete, then they're just going to leave, because they can't really do the ultra competitive side.
Right.
They don't have a regular outlet to bowl in it. They don't want to bowl in the fraudulent environment because they've already gotten a taste of what the real game is like. And it's just a tough situation. But Michael Tanganen in the chat again saying that Fagan is an example of a great player that chose to work as opposed to be out there bowling. Mike, we actually did one of our first interviews ever, right, Rob? I mean, it's going back a while, but one of the first interviews we ever did was with Fagan. You should go back on our YouTube page, check it out. It's a really good interview, and he actually talks a lot about the reasoning behind that decision when he did that. But all right, Rob.
There's a lot of guys that, Dan McClelland. He was one that I thought was going to be a top 10 bowler in the world. For
that's
a
what
long
I'm
time.
saying. We're talking the best, like generational talent that doesn't make it. So what happens to all those other people? I mean, Rob, like there's literally like dozens and dozens of random faces I remember from college bowling. Okay, like I don't remember their names. I don't really remember what school they bowled for, but just guys you always saw around bowling the college circuit, bowling events here and there when they were in college. And what happened? Where does everybody go?
I'll give you two names.
Most of them leave the game.
I'll give you two names: Jeremy Sonnenfeld, Derek Sapp.
Okay.
Those are two names that could have been on the Pro Tour.
But those are names that are like upper echelon, right? No, I'm not talking about them. I'm trying to give an example of who I'm talking about. I'm talking about. I'll tell you who I'm talking. I'm talking. This is one of my guys bowled on my college team. I'm talking about the Joe Abalos of the bowling world. Okay, Joe Abalo was a guy who bowled on my college team. He was a smart guy. 4.0 whole time in college, has a great job, makes a ton of money, etc., doing real well in life. Doesn't bowl anymore. Can't stand house bowling. Went out with Dunleavy and bowled the Tat, even though he hadn't picked up a bowling ball in like a year plus, 2 years plus, actually, I think. But there's no regular opportunities to do it. He'll go and bowl nationals. He'll go and bowl nationals with some guys that we know, and because he likes that environment. But then when you come home, there's no opportunities. And guys like that are probably too far gone. Like we probably lost them, right? It's too late. But what I'm saying is, if you start to provide some of these opportunities more regularly now, maybe we can start that pipeline and open it up. It's definitely another solution type part of the discussion. For what we're talking about here. But all right, listen, we talked about it enough. I'm done talking about the article. I put it out there. Just please, the last thing I'm going to say is please, if you're going to argue with me in any medium, please just read the whole article and make sure you understand my points, okay? Don't be a dope, all right, and come at like these dopes on Reddit who are on here, on Reddit talking about, he's going to take the house shots away. Imagine taking the house shots away. No, again, that's not what I said, okay? You want the house shots, have the house shots. But let's have a greater demarcation between the two. All right, let's start there. Okay, Rob, I want to talk about it's kind of related to this too, actually, but I told people a week or two ago that, and this is no secret, we don't like the ball reviews around here, right? We're not fans of the ball review videos.
There's 100 of them now.
Right. Inevitably, YouTube always like puts them up in my feed because, it knows I like bowling stuff. Yeah. And occasionally like I'll click on them here and there. And I talked a couple weeks ago about the dude, Louis Napolis, right? Who has a lot of followers on YouTube. He's got a big page and he does a lot of ball review type stuff. And I went on his page and I commented about like, hey, you should. Why not do this on a sports shot? Let's see some of these ball reviews on a sports shot. So this past week, he released. Now he said he wasn't going to do it, Okay,
but
more people came in the chat and were like, "Oh yeah, sports shot." So he released a name. He released a video with a ball review on a sports shot. Listen, I'm gonna say, well, and I stink myself, so take that for what it's worth, okay? But you gotta go watch this video. All right. If watching this video and understanding the usual ball reviews versus what is going on in this one, if this doesn't show you more than ever that the ball doesn't matter, and that it's more about the repetition and the accuracy of the player throwing the ball than it is the ball itself, I don't know what to tell you. I'll share this nugget with you though. I'll share this nugget, and I'm not hating. Okay, people, I don't want to hear that I'm hating here, because I've done it myself. I know what this is like. That's why I'm sharing it, because it's something that I can definitely relate to. In one of the shots, he throws a gutter, sliding 25 and playing the third arrow. Okay, and the ball gets right of like 7.
I picked 3 off the right.
I think he was bowling on. I think he was bowling on bare, and the ball gets like right of 7, and it just falls off the cliff, and it just keeps going, and it's just gone. And I mean, honestly, when I watched it and I saw that, I lost it. I'm not going to lie to you. I absolutely lost it, because I thought, no, like, what better evidence is there that the ball does not matter as much as the accuracy and the repetition of the person throwing it?
I think it matters, but it doesn't really matter what, in a certain sense, like what balls it is, like what. No, okay. What I'm trying to say is, the ball companies want to make it seem like their company and their balls. It's more of like your asymmetrical, your symmetrical, and your surfaces, right, and how your balls are laid out. As for what specific bowling ball, it really doesn't really matter to that much. I think a lot of the bowling companies are pretty even with each other. And now I think some companies are a little bit better than the others. But in reality, you could have success really with a majority of just the right ball in your hand. Is it an asymmetrical, how it's laid out, and what surface, right? Now, I'm not saying that certain companies are not better. I'm just saying, you could find success as long as you have those like kind of parameters, I feel like. Does that make sense?
Fair enough. Yes. No, understood. All right, Rob, let's give the people what they want. Oh my God, I have so much worse of the week material this week to draw from. I don't even know what I'm going to use. Jesus. All right, go ahead. You can go first, because I know you have yours prepared.
Yeah, so I was going to use this as a worst of the week. I'm glad Nico brought it up. Did you see all the people from Motive? They got all butthurt because the Brunswick released the Rattler, and it's like the same color as the Venom Shock, and it's a snake, and you had all these people like fighting with each other. It reminded me of the scene of The Office when they were all like pointing the fake guns at each other in the office, and they're all like doing this and stuff. It's like, come on, big deal. It's a snake. It's purple, whatever. Mike. So my worst of the week, in honor of Big Mike's being published as a bowling blogger on the 11frame.com. This was sent to us in an email today, and I really appreciate this, because this might be the best worst of the week at the best time for us. So I'm going to publish this. This was a
so sick.
This was a promotion for a new league, and let me read it.
New league,
new shorter season, a new short season, 3 rounds of 8 weeks. A league championship. Oh, sounds good, Mike. Sounds amazing so far, doesn't it?
Cash sweeper. Payoff after the 26th week.
4-man teams with 8-man roster. I could dig that. 90% of 220 sounds reasonable, right? Mike, the bullet point that's highlighted for everybody. Improve lane conditions for higher scoring. Mike, is this not in one published article? Is this not exactly what you were like Like what your beef is? Can't you literally just put this post? You don't even have to write an article for the 11th phrase.
Right. I could have
just
put this up.
Isn't this everything what is wrong with the sport in one bullet point?
It is.
Yes. Sucks. Anyway, that's my worst of the week. Improved lane conditions for higher scores. Actually publishing on a flyer to get people to motivate them to come and bowl on their league. Crazy.
Oh my goodness. Can I might need 2. I might need 3 worst of the weeks here, honestly. Let's see. I'm not gonna make this my worst of the week, but somebody on YouTube in a comment said that Mike Miller is the best thumbless bowler of all time. I mean, that's worst of the week. What do you say? Like,
no. I'm just saying it's an interesting topic to talk about.
Yeah, unless you clarify. No, it's not an interesting topic to talk about because the answer is very easy. It's Jason Belmonte is the best thumbless bowler of all time. Okay, now
no. Let's change it. Best thumbless bowler.
Okay, one-handed. Okay, well he didn't say that though. He didn't say that. So
right, Tom Smallwood.
He's not thumbless.
He's half a thumbless.
That doesn't count. You got half a thumb in there.
Bob Benoit.
All right. Maybe it might be Mike Miller.
Might be one. See, that is the differential between a thumbless bowler, but is he talking about a one-handed thumbless bowler?
Right. Okay. All right. I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna go with this. I was gonna go with a different one, but this is just so dumb.
You get two worst of the weeks. Oh, Tom Doherty's a good one.
No, I didn't use that. Oh yeah, you're right. Tom Doherty is a good one. I didn't use that last one as my worst of the week. I just had to give that an honorable mention. That
wait, Nico's got one. Hold on, wait, I got it public. My rest of the week's Dartag throwing the phase 5 before the USBC approval. You think Darren Tang cares? He don't care. He just wants the video.
I'm sure.
He wants to hit something.
It's good content. It's good content.
Great content.
All right, I'm gonna give my worst of the week to Bolero, AMF Bolero, because if you follow them on Twitter. And Jimmy, you need to do something with this in some way. We need to get up and do something with this. They started this promotion called "Where's Penny?"
Okay, I haven't heard this.
And they have look, I don't know if you guys can see it on my phone on the screen.
Okay.
But they have a little graphic of this
of a
Penny character.
Right.
And they put out a picture of one of their bowling centers, okay?
Uh-huh.
And they say it's time for another round of Where's Penny?
Oh,
right?
God.
And you can win prizes by recognizing that that Penny is perhaps in your center.
I know,
guess.
we see it. Is this the marketing dream team of Bolero?
I mean, what is this shit, son?
All right, we see it.
What is this shit, son? Where's Penny? Where's Penny? I mean, who's this supposed to appeal to?
5-year-olds?
They ain't even on social media, son.
I'm asking you. You asked the question. I'm trying to answer.
No, I thought you answered, and no.
5-year-olds.
That's the wrong answer. I'm sorry. It's the wrong answer. But
Penny,
where's Penny? Where's Penny gets my worst of the week. I'm sorry. I just saw it. I was like, really?
So is this the new Bolero mascot? Will Penny be showing up at events for the PBA and walking around?
I don't know, but doesn't it kind of shows how disconnected they are with what they do? They redo all their centers and they make the deer horn head, the human body deer head thing, their quote unquote logo, their mascot.
Penny the Patch Pirate.
Penny the Patch Pirate.
I love it. We're gonna give him a name. Is Penny gonna have a name shirt? Is it gonna be is he gonna be sponsored and get
yo, Jimmy's going wild saying
Penny's shitting in a
Penny's
cardboard box
shitting in a box in the back. Oh my goodness. Yo, that's terrible. Don't do that, Penny. That's terrible. Is that where Penny is?
No. You know,
we need that, Jimmy. We need that drawn up.
So what?
I need Penny over a box
Mike,
with poop coming out of the bottom of the pin. Please make that happen, son. So make my Friday, please. Oh my God.
You know what Penny's gonna do? He's gonna sneak in. He's gonna sneak into your bowling bag while you're bowling and try to take money and shit. Like that's what Penny's gonna do. But is this the new mascot? God. Is this the new Bolero mascot?
I don't know. You'd have to ask them. I just don't understand this.
Should I tweet them? You think they'll respond?
If it was like, where's the half human, half deer guy, I would understand that because that's like the logo at all their centers. But Penny I don't know, man. I don't know.
Dude, this is gonna. Oh, I hope. Oh, where is Penny though? We got to know, Mike. Maybe next week we'll have Penny on the show. We'll do an interview.
Well, the other thing that I thought when I saw was like, don't a lot of their centers look similar? Like I always see videos where I'm like, oh, is that this center I know? And then it's like, oh no, this is in Wisconsin or something. And I'm like, wow, that looks a lot like the center that I go to.
Well, you know what's funny about Bolero centers is that they're like settee areas and their arcade room and their everything looks good and maybe like it looks upgraded. And then the lanes have like these huge like holes in them, and the lane surfaces look like they're still like 1999 synthetic lanes with these huge holes in them. I remember we bowled a tournament a few months ago in the Chandler and Kyrene, and I threw a shot and I was like, "Hey guys, I'm looking at the big black hole in the lane," because there was literally like a black like crater in the lane, and everyone's laughing. I'm like, "Yeah, I'm just aiming left of there." So it's crazy. They God forbid they upgrade the lane surfaces, but they'll be more than happy to upgrade their settee areas and do up their snack bars and stuff. But maybe there'll be now a Penny walking around in every Bolero center.
All right, give the people what they want, Rob. Worst of the week rosin bag still available. Worst of the week. We know that people love worst of the week. You want a worst of the week rosin bag? Hit us up.
Email us because the website ain't gonna be up and running anytime soon. So
yeah, Rob's too busy he's too busy out making cuts at regionals. That's right, son. Man.
I got a tournament next weekend. That's my final thought. I got a tournament next weekend. But let me tell you something. This is my final thought. 20 games in 2 days is absolutely brutal. I need a freaking ice bath. Shouts to the PBA 50. These guys bowl a ton of games, and it's dude, it hurts. Oh, Enemy of Fun rosin bag release date. That's the next rosin bag releasing. Shouts to all you PBA 50 guys. Shouts to all you PBA Tour guys in your 40s out there bowling US Opens, Masters, traveling. Yo, like it's no joke. Physically tolling, mentally bowling, long match play, and that was only 8 games, Mike. And not having a reaction, trying to grind out, trying to dude. You want to talk about brutal? I feel bad for the guy who makes the U.S. Open cut and has to bowl 24 match play games and can't find the reaction. I feel bad for the guys who were in 23rd and 24th in that tournament and have to bowl 24 games, because it is no joke. It hurts physically. It hurts mentally. So, unless you get a chance, it's a whole new respect. I've been there before. I've bowled that. It's just hard. So.
No doubt. My final thought is, again, I'm going to go to the never-ending well of Bolero.
Penny.
No, not Penny this time. Penny was worst of the week. My final thought, I'm going to talk about the Bolero League sanctioning program. I hear it's off to a shit start.
What happened?
That's the word on the street. Well, I mean, listen, if people here in the chat bowling Bolero leagues, let me know. But the word on the street is that they don't say shit about it. Like, it's never mentioned in the leagues, never announced, never anything. I heard from a couple people that the app doesn't even work. The app's not even working. You can't pay for your league through the app like you were supposed to be able to. You can't. The standings aren't correct on the app. Nope. Nothing's working on there. So, listen. I mean, how many times are we going to see this from this company where they roll something out and then don't have the conviction to really stick to it or do it the way it should be done?
I could vouch for that because I bowl in a Bolero league, and it's a fully packed league. Which, by the way, I bowled 638 this week, in case anybody was wondering. 192, 240.
If you didn't make the cut in the regional, I'd be roasting you right now for that shit.
It's crazy because I bowled in the same bowling center, and I bowled 740 on Shark 48 feet, and I can't bowl over 640 in bowling league.
Nico, we're not surprised that it's not working. I mean, who would be surprised, right? It's almost like a rhetorical question.
But here was my point, though, Mike. Here is my point, though. They haven't made one announcement about any Bolero programs or anything that they're doing. Nico asked before about a schedule. We don't even have a sniff of a schedule yet. But I'm talking about the leagues, right? You would think that they would have promotions running when you have, a league of 30 teams, of 5-man teams. You literally have 150 people in the bowling center. You're trying to make money in a center, in a Bolero program that is tailored for the league bowler. And yet I haven't heard an announcement. I haven't seen a flyer. I haven't seen anything. So how do they expect people to even know about it or understand what the hell their program is? It's terrible. You know what? I'm going to tweet that, Mike. I'm going to ask them where Penny is and where's your promotion for your marketing, because it's terrible. And you're right. It's 100%. It's a tragedy how a company like Bolero, who's publicly traded, can have a program for the league bowler and not have any kind of marketing or advertising towards it to the bowler actually bowling the league.
All right, it's a good place to end. Rob, I'm exhausted. It's 10 o'clock out here on the East Coast. I had back to school night tonight, so there was extra hours of work put in tonight. I got a half day tomorrow. I'm looking forward to it. No bowling on tap for me this weekend. Just some travel soccer and some birthday parties. Actually, you know what? I might try and make it to the training center on Saturday if I can. Maybe I'll call tomorrow and see if I can book a time for Saturday morning.
You should.
I know. I would like to get out there and throw the rock. It's been a couple weeks, and I'm starting the non-committal sport thing on October 4th, so I actually do need to get out there and bowl a little bit. But nice. Listen, we greatly appreciate everybody joining us in the chat. I appreciate all the comments and et cetera, reaction responses to my article. Even if you disagree with me and I call you a dope, I still appreciate your response. Cool. Follow us on social media. Follow us on social media. I'm at the 215th. He's at Brooklyn Rob 11. Rob, good luck with your bowling this weekend, folks.
Nothing bowling. B3. I'll be at B3 for an hour Saturday.
Okay. All right. Get some good work in. Get some videos out. Create some content. I want to see that. I want to see that torch John again. That shit was dope. I want to go to the training center myself and use that. But all right, folks, we'll let everybody go. Take it easy. We appreciate the support. See you next week.
Later.
You are now listening to Sweep the Rack podcast featuring Brooklyn Rob and